Yo, man, Jason Howland here, action closer at the Jason Howland Studios. Listen, I've got some great information for you today. I know it's going to help you. I know it's going to add some value. So listen up. Come a little closer and listen up, okay? So, too many times I see salespeople lump the whole process together. They think that selling is selling, and there's no separation between selling and closing. And I talk about this all the time, and I tell you all the time, but you have to get it. You've got to realize this, okay? First thing is, selling is convincing somebody, okay? Selling is convincing somebody or persuading somebody that what you have is what they want, okay? Making them understand the value in your product or your service, that is selling. They could love your service. They could love the car that you're selling, for instance, but that doesn't mean they're going to buy that car from you, right? Somebody down the street has the same product or service that you have, most likely. So when they're sold on the product or service, now they've chosen, no matter who they go through to get it, they're going to get that product or service. Great job. That's selling. They're sold. But when it comes to closing, it's a separate thing. And too many times I see the salespeople not transfer or transmit into that close, and then they just keep pitching or they keep trying to sell. So the first thing I want you to do is get into a close, okay? A close is a situation in which you want to get as quickly as you can to the point of asking for the business. And what happens is when you lay your price down, this is what's going to happen every time. You're going to lay your price down, and the customer is going to give you either a yes or some sort of an objection, okay? And some sort of an objection is usually 95% of the time not an objection at all, but a complaint or a stall or an excuse. So if you treat the complaint or the stall or the excuse as a objection, what's going to happen is the customer is going to dig their feet in and put back resistance. In other words, if you try to overcome a complaint, it's going to turn into an objection, which makes it harder to get back to what you're there to do, and that is the close. The close is really simple. You should have a ton of closing material memorized. You should have an absolute ton of closing material memorized. In other words, you should be able to have 15, 20, 25, 150 different ways you can ask a customer for the business. Okay, it could be, let's do this. It could be, do it anyway. It doesn't matter what it is. You have to have questions, material ready, and they're so quick and they're so easy to learn, memorize, and even make up closing material so that you can get to the close. But the point of the close is to get to those questions as quickly as possible. So first of all, don't make mountains out of molehills. The first thing you got to do is be able to decipher between the objection. Angela, good morning. The objection and the actual complaint or stall. Okay, so basically, how do we do that? How can you decipher between a real objection, something that's holding the customer up, a problem with your service, a problem with your product, or something they don't like you, whatever? That's a real objection. How do you decipher between a real objection and a complaint, stall, or an excuse? Okay. The way to do that is to brush through it or push through it with a close, okay? So, for instance, a customer says, it's too much money. Hey, listen, this isn't the first time. It's not going to be the last time that you have overpaid for something that you really wanted. Let's do this. That's a close, right? So you're giving them the old handshake. You're giving them the old let's do this. You're giving them some kind of a close pitch, I call it. It's just a quick line that leads you up to the question or the command for action. Okay, so this isn't the first time. This isn't going to be the last time that you have overpaid for something that you want, or you've paid more than you planned. Let's do this, right? And that is your close. You want to get to that situation as quickly as you can. But when you're in a closing situation, when you get your first objection, you lay down your price and they give you something. It's going to be, I want to think about it. I got to check down the street. I got to get 3 more guys out. I got to do this. I got to do that. You got to find out if that's a complaint, stall, or an excuse before you treat it as an objection and try to overcome it. So many salespeople are treating everything like an objection that they're creating a fight they don't need. Okay, so how do you do that? You give a quote, you try for the close. And if that's the customer's real objection, the point is to get through it and get to a closing question so that they will tell you it's a real objection. In other words, if I say that to a customer who has a real objection and they really want to think about it, they're going to stay with, I want to think about it. Well, like I said, I want to think about it. Hey, okay, perfect. And now you can go back again. And the most important thing is to handle it and get back to a close. So the customer says, I want to think about it. And you go, hey, I get it. I would think about it too. Let's do this. And you see if they're serious, they're going to go, well, yeah, I still, like I said before, I really need to think about it. And then you know that their objection really is they're concerned, they're missing something, and you're going to have to find out what the real objection is, because think about it, thinking is going to happen right now. It's not going to take time. So you want to get back to that. So in the close, you want to start with the overcoming the complaint, not overcoming the objection, okay? Overcoming a complaint is just simply asking for the business and kind of ignoring the complaint to see if it goes away. If it goes away, it was never real in the first place. If there's a real objection there, you're going to have to pull that out, and we'll talk about that later. Right now, what I want to talk about is staying in the close, okay? So once you've done that, the customer is going to either change objections, which means they're making excuses, and 90% of the time, that's what they're going to do. So the customer is either going to change objections or they're going to stick with the same objection. What you don't want to do is overcome the objection before it becomes an objection, because they're going to dig their feet in, they're going to get stuck with it. So handle the objection and get right back to a close. So they say, you know, hey, listen, I want to get 3 other quotes, whatever, right? Hey, I completely understand. I'd get 3 other quotes as well. When you're doing that, though, you're just trying to find the same thing that I have. Let's just get it from who you know and who you want to get it through. Let's do this, right? And they say, well, you know, I really need to think about it. I never make rash decisions. At this point, you couldn't be making a rash decision. We spent plenty of time together, and you have all the information you need, like you said before. So let's go ahead and do this now while it's fresh in your mind. Let's do this. And again, you want to get back to that closing question. I don't know if you've ever read a study or studied up on how many times you should ask for the business in order to earn it, but studies have shown it takes at least 5 times. That's why it's so important. Okay, so step 1, you want to treat it as a complaint or an excuse or a stall. Step 2 is you want to treat it like a complaint, excuse, or a stall again. Good morning, James. Caring Craftsman in the house, man. Good to see you. So you want to treat it like a complaint, excuse, or a stall, and find out what it is. If it's a complaint, excuse, or a stall, it'll either change or it'll get weaker. And then the second thing is you want to give another closing statement, get back to the close again. You know, I've done it as simple as, hey, it's going to be $14,221. Let's go ahead and get this done. They say, well, I got to think about it. I got to talk to so-and-so. They start with the excuses, and I go, well, I'm just going to need half down. Why don't you go grab your checkbook? See how I'm just pushing through to find out if it's real before I cause them to dig their feet in and respond to, well, I got to get 3 other quotes. And I go, oh, when you're getting your other quotes, what are you going to be looking for? And now all of a sudden it's a conversation about other quotes, not a conversation about closing. Does that make sense to you? You've got to get this. If you're going to become an action closer and you're going to be that closing person that gets the deals and doesn't just sell them so they can walk down the street and buy from somebody else, you've got to learn this. So get back to the close. The customer says, you know, hey, you want to, you know, I understand. Listen, go grab your checkbook. I'll only need half down. And they say another excuse. Well, I got to think about it. Hey, listen, thinking is instantaneous. You already know the answer. Which is it? Yes or no? You want to do this? And then they say, well, you know, hey, listen, half down. Go grab your. You want to stay in the close and keep going. Hey, you're pressuring me. Yep, go grab your checkbook. Or you're pressuring me. Hey, if your mother, brother, or sister were doing dangerous drugs, would you pressure them to quit? Of course you would, because it's the right thing to do. I know this is the right thing to do. And that's why I'm willing to apply pressure. Let's do this, right? Back to the close. Doesn't matter what closing material you have. Like I said, you need to memorize tons of it so you can do like I'm doing now and just hit closes after closes after closes. Listen, dude, that's a close. Whatever. Make closes up, study them, listen to other people, find closing material so you can go through it quickly, because the point of step number 2 is to handle that complaint by just pushing through it and getting back to a question of asking for the business. So you can do step 3, which is make sure that you're asking for the business at least 5 times in every sales situation you get in, whether you're on the phone, whether you're face-to-face, whatever. I don't recommend trying to sell on Facebook Messenger or anything like that. But you got to get to that closing question. Anybody who's told you different doesn't understand closing. So you're staying in the sales part of it, right? Sales is already done. You should have already done a trial close. You should have already gotten every commitment that you need from the customer to know that your product and service is what they're going with, no matter who they go with it through. Whether they buy it from you or somebody else, they're getting what you're selling, right? Once you get to that point, you're in the close. Don't go back into sales. Don't go back into try and let them slip back into, well, is your product good enough? They already decided on your product. So that's the thing. What is it? Blowing up roofing. James, nice to see you. Hey, you're blowing up the roofing industry down there. The Caring Craftsman, man, he's going multiple states now, man. I'd love to see you on here. Glad to know you're watching, man. I know you're a closer. Check this out. People, understand that once you're in the close, stay in the close, circle back to the close, give plenty of closes. Listen, I think you're pressuring me. Yep, let's do this. That's a close. You got to do closes. Hey, I want to think about it. Thinking is instantaneous, so you know the answer. Let's do this. That's a close. Those are closes. Once you're in the close, stick with the close. Don't go somewhere else, back into this, get sidetracked. You have to have a one-track mind, and you've got to be completely unreasonable. Step 4, okay? So step 1 is to treat it like a complaint so you can find out if it's an objection. If it's an objection, you know how to handle those. If it's a complaint, you just keep shooting closing statements and rotating back to that close. Number 3 is to make sure you're asking 5 times before you walk away from a situation, because you must, okay? You have to make sure that you're walking back to that closing situation so you can get 5 times. And so you've got to make sure that you're sticking with the deal. Stay in the close. Don't get sidetracked. Stick with it. Make sure that you're able to ask 5 times, and you will get twice as many deals. I guarantee it. If you want to learn more about closing, give me a call, 586-231-1497. Sorry about that. 586-231-1497. Give us a call anytime, and we'll teach you about closing. Anything you need to know, we know it here. So get in touch with us that way. Go to our website, jasonhowland.com. There's plenty of information, lots of videos like this one, tons of things you can learn, some blogs, awesome information there. Get in touch with us. We'll teach you to be an action closer. Until then, click share, click like, help us grow so we can help you grow and make today the best day of your life.